And I'm not sure why that's not occurring. I don't either. I can hear you. That's correct. So I am now on the air and things are going quite well then. Yes? Do you want me to call back? Is that what you said? Um, how about that? Is that coming better?
I think it's a little better, yes.
Well, good. Okay. Yes, I can hear you a little. I won't call back. I will stay on then.
You're going to hold. Okay, I'm just going to pot you down. You'll be there, and we're going to continue on with the big shoe here. One more before we go. The website, thepeoplesvoice.tv, reported this. WEF, the World Economic Forum. You know who that is?
I do.
That evil Klaus Schwab, and he looks like Dr. Evil, doesn't he? Says WEF is the headline, admits COVID was a test of public's obedience to New World Order. You know, there was a lot of things that came out of COVID. Number one, to steal an election, but number two, to test how much they could get away with. And yeah, if it was to find out how many sheep are in the United States that would obey mandates, stand 6 feet apart, wear masks, get the jab from the government that is evil, then they have to be very, very, very pleased with the outcome of the quote test. Sudden and Unexpected posted this headline on X and said the World Economic Forum has admitted that the COVID 19 pandemic was a test of the public's obedience in accepting their new world order. And then, of course, it was shared again, retweeted by General Michael Flynn. Now, that's a real general, not a fake television general. He's the real McCoy. And he says this Schwab is an evil man, and the WEF is an evil organization. And upon that, we can agree. And upon that, we shall call it a day.
That's your day. Very good job, JR. Glad to have you as always. I think you're a wonderful host. You're a good man.
Probably figured out what else is happening on Damn Radio in the coming days. Tomorrow, Radio Free Missouri with Ike Skelton comes your way at 6 o'clock, and Sam will come back again at 4 o'clock, just like he's doing evidently every Tuesday and Thursday. Nadine at 9, in case you missed it. And Paulie's taking the weekend off because, yeah, there's his style of music at the amphitheater, which, of course, I respect. If he wants to go see Yellow Wolf, God bless him. I think I'll be floating down the river somewhere. All right, we're going to do a little ABBA, and then we're going to come right back with some Sam Trapp.
JR, you still with me or did you bail out? Looks like he hit the road. Oh, there you are.
I haven't bailed out just yet, my friend.
I see. Well, you have good musical taste as always. Throw in a little bit of Waterloo in there. What year was that? 74, you say?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Well, I wanted to tell a little bit about the topics I plan to address today. One of them is the multipolar world and how it is coming upon us. And some of the words of Vladimir Vladimirovich, Mr. Putin, that we will discuss. I'd like to talk about the Indian foreign minister who was recently in Germany and the discussions that he's had, some of the pressure that Russia is feeling to do some uh, negotiation with Ukraine to try to end the special military operation or war, whichever version you prefer to call it. A couple of things in that regard. Some updates on BRICS, of course, and my own personal interest in that. And I also wanted to take issue with you just a tiny bit on the video of that Tyreek Hill, is it? The Miami Dolphins guy. Did you watch the video? Well, maybe he's bailed on us. We're in different suites, so don't really know. But the Tyreek Hill, the Miami Dolphins, I believe he's a wide receiver, and JR was mentioning a little bit about him in his show the last hour. I think in the first hour he was talking about it of his show. And when what you don't see in the video is that the gentleman was speeding, apparently going quite fast, and that the stop legitimate, not legitimate, stops legitimate. Cop comes up to the window, and you see it if you have a chance to watch this. And if you remember my history a little bit, and I do not like police that, in my view, misuse their power or have a syndrome of I'm a bigger wiener than you. I can and it seemed to me that these police officers, when I watched the video, had that issue. I don't want to. It has nothing to do, for me, at least from my perspective, with race. Really, it has to do with. Although I do believe it's more likely that a person of color will be subjected to something like this than, say, me. If I get pulled over, the likelihood of me getting it is less than somebody else. However, I don't believe it has anything to. I don't want to say anything to do, but very little to do with race. I believe it has to do with the a bit of a small man syndrome, we call it. Basically it's a small person wanting to be bigger and doesn't like to be questioned, and someone who doesn't respect the authority that uniform gives him. And there were a lot of cops there. There weren't at first, but it seems to me that there was a bit of that. Now, I'm not there. I don't get to make the total determination of what it is. And I also think that Tyreek could have behaved slightly better. However, I also want to point out that the world we live in right now, especially if you are a man of color and you're getting pulled over, and I didn't grow up like you grew up. I didn't grow up fearing the police. I began to later in life, but I did not grow up fearing the police as as I believe a good number, depending on where you are. This guy heard an interview with him, I think on that JR put out, that said that he grew up in South Georgia or something, that he was in South Georgia, which shouldn't make a whole lot of difference, but it could. And if you watch that video, here are my issues with that video, and then I'll move on to another topic. I only wanted to disagree just a little bit with JR and what he was saying, is that when the police officer comes up to the window, it's a very expensive car. That is not a car that, I mean, the guy's clearly got some money, and he's obviously quite a bit more wealthy than the police officer. And the police officer clearly didn't recognize who he was, or if he did, it's even worse what he did. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that issue. And my problem areas with this stop were when he came up, the officer, he came up and he started knocking on the window. Mr. Hill rolled it down and began to talk to him. Then he rolled it up, probably because he was on the phone. I mean, that's clear from the way it is. And the officer didn't like that. And you open that window, or I'm going to have you step out of the car. Then, before any words are exchanged or anything, I am going to have you step out of the car. Now, Mr. Hill opened the door, it appears, and it's one of those lift doors and not a door that opens on the level. It's a lift door that opens up. And so he had to come out from under that door. And before the door is completely opened, the officer says, "Oh, you better watch that, or I'm going to have you. You know what? Go ahead and step on out." And the guy didn't move quick enough, and two officers reached in there and began to drag him out of the car. Now, I disagree with that approach. I do not believe it was reasonable in the circumstances that were given. I don't believe that a reasonable police officer would be allowed to do that kind of to take that kind of action. And I believe, that's something that should be at least evaluated. Now, they drag him out, they throw him on the ground. They were not very gentle with him, not that they should be. He's a big dude. But at the same time, they gratuitously escalated the situation. If we need to expect as Americans that the police officers are going to be the voice of reason at the stop. Now, you always hear it from the police point of view. Well, we never knew who were going up there. We don't know anything about it. Nope. But you're a professional, and you're a professional de-escalator. You should be monitoring and adjusting and toning down the situation. And police who are constantly elevating the situation and making it worse, I completely disagree with. It's clearly he wasn't in any physical danger with the guy sitting in the car. He could have conversed a little bit. The amount of time it took to get to that point was 0 to 90 in no time flat, and he had him on the ground. Then he's dragging him in. You hear the guy, "Just had surgery on my knee. I just had surgery on my knee. Just had surgery." Nobody cares about that. And I don't know if he had surgery on his knee. I don't know who this guy is. Don't know. I haven't watched football in 100 years. I don't pay attention much anymore to American football. But I would say that I can see arguments both ways. And later on, there was a second video that surfaced. Apparently, he was on his way to the stadium on that fateful day, which was like yesterday, I guess. And another player came up, was standing and videoing what was going on. And whoever that player was, I have no idea. But he came out, and the cop ran over to him and started, "Get back in your car, get back in your car, get back in your..." And I don't disagree that he needs to maintain control of that scene where he is the police officer. I mean, but how do you equate what's going on where if the guy did have a knee surgery and the cop didn't bother to do anything, the escalation, I strongly favor the side of the player and not of the police officer, and adjusting these issues and making them tougher. You may disagree with me, you may not, but I believe a professional police officer needs to be held to the highest of standards, much higher than a football player. And somebody said to him while he was standing on his side, he goes, "Man, this is going to make you rich." He goes, "I already am rich." You heard that comment, and that's true. I don't believe it's going to make him rich. I think that the police officers made a mistake. I think a classy move for Tariq Hill would be to come out and say, you know what, perhaps I could, move a little quicker. Perhaps maybe both sides should acknowledge the fact that they are not necessarily correct in how they dealt with this stop. It is not an ideal stop on either point of it. I don't know that I'd want to be sitting on the jury and giving a cop the benefit of the doubt for treating somebody like that. That guy was not afraid for anything. The policeman, the bad actor, as I call him, and the other guy that came up and helped drag him out, both of them, that was unnecessary in my view. And I've done a lot of lawsuits in that vein, where excessive police action. When I was practicing law, I did a good amount of that, and I'd feel comfortable arguing that case. Whether you're going to win or not, that remains to be seen. But you know what? The likelihood, and citizens lose far more frequently, in my view, than they ought to. And so that one is a real questionable one. Then there are a lot of safety levers for the police to act this way, but I don't like the way that police act like this. I call it this small man syndrome, and they just want to show how big they are, how tough they are, how authoritative they are, and they use the government to their benefit. And anyone who knows me at all knows I don't like you using the government for something that it wasn't designed to attack other people, to I don't know what, to take advantage of other people, to hurt other people. I don't like it. And it's too easy for them to get away with it, so they should be held to a much higher standard. So I wanted to talk about that just a tiny bit. I did want to talk about Mr. Wish I could remember his name or pronounce it correctly. Jaishankar, I believe it was, and it was today that he was discussing his discussions in Germany with the German side, and talking about Ukraine and talking about the need to it. There's some very good discussions going on online. Watched a few of them myself, participated in a couple of them myself, and spoken about it. It's I'm telling you that there's some pretty good authority that's saying that India is really in the middle here and is trying to play, trying to assist, kind of like Orban is doing, Viktor Orban is trying to do. Brazil is trying to help out, and they're trying to put pressure on Russia. Now, before the Kursk invasion, back before August, July, even in June, I had made some commentary that I thought that the end of Zelensky would be before the election, the United States election, that he's going to be out. Part of me still believes that way, that they're going to, he'll be out of power. His office, the term for his office expired back in May. The only way he remains in power, and nobody talks about it in the United States, is that he keeps martial law in effect. Well, from the Putin point of view, Putin's been saying, well, who am I supposed to deal with? He no longer has the authority to negotiate on behalf of Ukraine. It has to be some kind of a constitutional provision and make sure that it's all according to the Ukrainian constitution. And Zelensky does not hold constitutional power right now. It just it's not. It's no. He's under martial law. But as soon, let's say this, and here's the difficulty: if they make a decision to resolve the matter, to deal with Russia, to compromise somehow. Not going to say what that is. I'll get into that in a little bit. But if they make a decision to compromise and end the hostilities, and maybe you go back to what occurred in Istanbul in April of 2022, and you start from there, and both parties agree. Well, can Zelensky, I mean, if both parties agree, can Zelensky sign it? No. Well, somebody has to sign it. I assume it could be Zelensky, but that'd be his final act, because then they have to terminate martial law, which is in effect right now. And they'd have to immediately hold elections. And then, arguably, since his power is gone, they would have to somebody else would have to ratify that agreement, whatever the settlement agreement is, because Russia already has a problem believing anything that is done on the Western side, and on the Ukrainian side, they've been played, lied to, tricked for a very long time by the West, and specifically by Ukraine. And so how are they going to be able to rely upon the agreement that they made if the person who made it didn't have the authority to make it? So that's really a pretty large issue. And so Jaishankar going around and discussing with people, trying to speak on many sides, trying to make this problem go away somehow, and trying to end the war. And this was much more prevalent back in the early summer, until Ukraine made the incursion into Kursk. And once they did, the discussion about that was a lot less prevalent. It disappeared, because how in the world is Russia's going to go? Yeah, now we're gonna speak to them. They've gone on an incursion into Kursk, and how are we supposed to deal with them now? Now, another point to that is, this pressure on Putin to negotiate. There's very little coming from the Ukraine side. Ukraine, in fact, has said that they don't want to negotiate, nor do they intend to, until Russia agrees to. There are a number of things. Reparations. They got to give back the regions that they've taken over. You got to go back to the 1991 borders of Ukraine. And that is not going to happen from the Russian side. And so Ukraine has been saying this forever. But now there's also some pressure on Ukraine to admit reality. There's still plenty of information on the West saying that Ukraine is winning this war. I don't believe it. And I don't believe that any legitimate expert believes that either. I think it is far more likely that that the am I don't know that my audio level is coming out on there. Is that? I'm hoping that it's showing up, but it doesn't appear. I don't see the audio coming. I don't see it showing on the desktop that it shows the audio is coming in. I hope that it is, and that these things can be heard, but I can't tell if it is or if it isn't unless I turn this up. Hopefully there's nothing weird going on there if I turn it up. No, I don't think I have any audio coming in right now. I don't hear it. Where is the audio?
X note.
Yep, I've got nothing. And what happened to the Sam Trapp show? Where did it go? I'm gonna have to drag myself back over there and see if it's still starring Sam. Nope, I don't hear it. Well, I think we're having some troubles, JR. I hope you could come and help me figure this out, because there is no audio coming in, and I don't understand where it is. So I am on the audio as far as on the YouTube channel, but not on the radio station. I don't hear it at all. So JR, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm gonna click on it again and see if it's okay. So maybe I'm incorrect and it is showing up on there. I just can't see the area on it, and it is still showing up here. So I like that. Very nice. Okay, sorry for the sorry for the confusion there, but I'm doing it remotely and I cannot see it. I wanted to talk a little bit more about finish up on the point of view that he has. I believe here's what I personally believe. I personally believe that, and I said this at the very beginning of this year, that Zelensky would be shuffled off, out of power. I said my initial thought process was between August and the time of the elections, but certainly before the elections come up or immediately thereafter, something's going to happen. The fact is that in Ukraine, there's at least 55 to 65% of the people. The recent poll said that 55 to 65% of the people want a negotiated end to this conflict, and an even larger amount are not in favor of Zelensky. There are a lot of shows in Russian, in Telegram, in Ukrainian that are being passed out that say that Ukraine is in the end of their existence, at least as far as Zelensky's concerned. That the corruption is, if anything, getting even greater right now, and that everybody is grabbing what they can because they know that the end is near, and so the corruption is a heck of a lot worse. I've seen a lot of things about that. If you think about this, Jake Sullivan is still talking about how well it's going in Ukraine. And I think what they're trying to do from the point of view of the Biden administration and Jake Sullivan, who kind of assisted in directing this entire process or being his area of expertise or being in charge of it, they either want it resolved before the election, or they want to push through and get past the election and push it back to the end of the year. Now, I've heard a lot of different reasons for this, but I'll tell you my reason for this. My reason for this is that they want to blame Trump. They want to be able to push it out past the day of election and then say, well, not our fault. This is Trump's fault. We were in the middle of getting, just like everything else. We were in the middle of a negotiated settlement. We had things all worked out. It was looking good for Ukraine. Zelensky had this and Zelensky had that, and we were about to put this, and we had funded the whole. We gave close to 200 billion now that we funneled to Ukraine, and everybody got their little chunk of our military industrial complex and the corruption in Ukraine, that they all were taken care of by the United States, and we did what we could. And those darn Republicans and that darn Trump wouldn't give us any more after the beginning of the year, so he's to blame. And so when the election takes place, if Trump comes in and resolves it right afterward, which he said he's going to, and you know what? Russia's only going to be able to deal with them anyway. It's going to be blamed upon him no matter how you slice it anyway. But we're all smarter than that, and we know how this occurred. I mean, the fact that nobody has done anything serious over there except throw more money at it for 2 years is ridiculous. If you were paying attention yesterday, how many drones were sent to Moscow yesterday? 130, 140, something of that nature that were sent over there. And that is going to be an important resolution of the conflict. And it's not getting any better if you have any chance to watch any of those things. Okay, and that's where I feel it's going to go before the end of the year. And then, so I also wanted to say a couple of things. I saw an interesting poll as well, and this I'm going to switch to tonight's debate between Trump and Harris. There's been a lot of negative about her ability, Harris's ability to out-argue and to debate Trump. The interesting, one of the most interesting posts I saw today was one that said that their comparison, this debate is going to be held on ABC, and they say they had a comparison of that since Kamala Harris announced and that she was running for president, and that since Biden stepped down, 100% of the coverage on ABC for Kamala Harris has been positive. There's been nothing negative at all from any source in NBC about her. Nothing. And at the same time, since that same time, that as per regarding Trump on ABC, that there has been a 93% negative. Like the things you would say against Trump, you would start out with saying something negative and telling Trump it's a bad, Trump's bad, Trump's bad, Trump's bad. And so I found that very interesting. My own personal thoughts, I never have believed that Kamala Harris is I don't know what, I don't want to say she's stupid because I don't believe that. She can be well-spoken if she's reading a teleprompter or if she has prepared something. I am very interested in seeing this debate tonight because I don't believe that she can compete at Trump's level. I just don't believe it. And I think Trump's going to trounce her. I hope that they talk about one of the things that I just talked about on the, as far as resolving the Ukraine dispute, and that something has to be done there. I hope that is addressed. And what are we going to do? I doubt it. I think Trump's going to do the same old, yeah, I'll have it settled in 2 days. And Kamala's going to say, we have to defend Ukraine. And that's it. It'll be platitudes and nothing detailed and nothing concrete of how to get rid of it. And the second thing I would like to have them address is BRICS and the multipolar world. Now, Vladimir Putin has been saying for several years, as has China, as has India, that the days of the unipolar, hegemonic world are over and they're never coming back. Now, I heard Trump say something the other day that this de-dollarization, it's hurting themselves. That America is causing its own de-dollarization, and that's true. America is creating its own de-dollarization because they're forcing these issues and these sanctions upon everyone. And so, what do you expect the rest of the world to do? They're going to resist. And Russia is first in that. They have the largest land, at least as far as land. They are the largest country in the world. India is the largest by population, followed right after that by China. And India especially is ignored in as far as having a seat at the big table, and that they want to stay associated in some respects with the West. So does China. So does Brazil. They have ties with us, but there's going to be this other system is coming, and it's not going to go away. The BRICS system, they allegedly are going to announce a new payment system, a new bank. I don't know if you heard this the other day, but the World Bank now calls Russia a high-income country. That's by the World Bank. That's by the West. And BRICS, a lot of what's going on with BRICS is that these people are the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. They want to have a different way of approaching it. They want to have a different way of developing countries. And they always, and I repeat this, I've said this before. You may have even heard me say it the other day when I touched on this issue, that the countries that are developing do not want to be told exactly what to do. And Russia, China, India, Brazil are far less likely to tell you what to do and to require you to, I don't know, change your way of government, require you to overthrow whoever's in power and go with someone else. The likelihood of that occurring by a BRICS nation is, I don't want to say it's zero because it's not, but that is the default method for the United States. We go in, we overthrow something, and we set issues that tell people this is what you must do. And if they don't, then they get sanctioned, they get overthrown, they get bombarded, they go in and force the issue, they get told that this is not democracy. Pretty funny that they don't do that in Ukraine, because Ukraine certainly isn't democratic. And so it would be very much in the United States favor, like Trump really did, to be, for the most part. He's still he doesn't like the D-dollar. He knows what's going on with the dollar, uh, and he can see it too. And he's actually talked about it for once. He's the only one to have said something about it. I would like to see, I don't know what, a task force or something put together with respect to BRICS. I've been looking into on my own what and how and what steps are going to be implemented with BRICS. Now, places like India, they're not going to leave BRICS, but they're not going to anytime soon de-dollarize. They're still going to do it, but they're going to have alternative methods of payment. And if the U.S. isn't careful, the U.S. is going to lose the ability to be the dominant force. And I wanted to say something about the way that the U.S. handles debt versus the way other countries handle debt. If you take Russia's debt right now, Russia's debt right now is $300 billion, just under. And that's down about 10 billion from last quarter. And so that's billion, just billion. Okay. So let's not get too crazy about their debt. And as a percentage of their GDP, that is less than 15% of their GDP. And they're the fifth largest economy in the world, and probably this year going to pass up Japan and be the fourth largest economy in the world. But when you compare that to the United States, and this is why BRICS and de-dollarization and U.S. debt and the oil dollar and BRICS trade platforms are so important, because as all of these other countries whittle away at the dollar and at the U.S., it becomes more and more important. So the debt of the United States as of the end of July is $33.17 trillion. $33.17 trillion. And maybe my math isn't that good, but isn't that about 100 times greater than the debt that Russia is carrying, and with no end in sight? And it's only going to. Jr. had something that he was playing on his show that talked about how big it's going to get, and now it's never going to go away. Kennedy's been very much discussing how that scenario works as well, and we're not getting rid of our debt. And the more countries that throw out our debt, the worse it's going to get for us. And for the dollar, for the United States, I shouldn't say for us, although it will affect each one of us as well. And so when you think about that, when you think about these things, and you think about the U.S. insisting upon this unipolar world where they're the top dog, and Putin in one of his recent speeches, I like to listen to this guy and some of the things he says. And it just, you can call me whatever you want. Sometimes when I do it in Russian, people get on, they call me a spy. So, and then on the other side, well, you can't win if you open your mouth. Whether it's in Russian, they call me a spy. On the Russian side that I'm passing out, who knows what U.S. nonsense in to Russian speaking world. And in America, they all call you a Putin apologist, and some of the things that he says. But here's some of the recent things that Vladimir Putin has said when I pay attention to him. Ready? He said the United States or the uh, the multipolar world isn't needed in America. Uh, Russia isn't needed. Russia has to be our enemies. We don't know why, but uh, the the uh, overthrow of the government in Kiev that happened in 2014, nobody talks about. These are things that don't get talked about. The threat of a nuclear war, it's always Putin, and that's all he talks about. That's what we say on the in the West. Is that's how we say it. Putin claims that the U.S. is nothing more than a pyramid scheme. They take over these third world countries, force them through the World Bank and the IMF into servitude, and placing controls upon them that otherwise wouldn't be there, forcing the government to bow to the United States, and the war. This is also one of the things that Putin says it is that nobody says in the West, and he was listing a whole bunch of them of things that nobody else says in the West. War in Ukraine is only 2.5 years long, not 9.5 years long. You're an enemy of the West just because you don't like a unipolar world. And the funny part, here's one of the fun that he laughs about, and he calls it BS. Basically, calls it BS. I'll try to respect JR's wishes and not use a lot of swear words, swear terminology here. That Russia is always accused of trying to reestablish and Putin specifically is always accused of trying to reimpose the borders of the Soviet Union and take over the world. And he says we're the largest country in the world. We don't need any more territory. We have plenty. So no, we're not after the Baltics. We're not after Finland. We're not after Poland. We're not even after Ukraine. And if Ukraine would have allowed people to speak their own language, if Ukraine would have honored the referendums that were carried on in the 4-5 oblasts that including Crimea, then we wouldn't be where we are today. But none of those things are said in the West, and they're starting to be said more and more by people like me. But mainstream media, you're not going to get it, especially when both sides participate in it. And one of the things that he talks about quite a bit is the West gets to set the rules and then gets to set how they are broken and who breaks them and in what manner they break them. And the rules are always changing. And one of the funniest things, and he says it in kind of a cynical way, and he says, so the way this is always brought about is because the U.S. has a change. They just changed their mind, and he gave a great example of this. And he's given this example before. I remember hearing this exact same example a couple of years ago in another speech that he gave. And but he likes to point out that the United States cannot be trusted. And the reason that the U.S. cannot be trusted is because when somebody new comes into power, they immediately throw out everything that the other person did. And the biggest example he sees of this, And I don't know the specifics of I know in general what he's talking about. But he says, let me give you a specific example of this. One of the specific examples is the Iran nuclear program, where one Western leader, United States leader, says one thing, and then another one comes in, and it's complete reversal. It's a 180-degree reversal. And they watch this far too frequently. So nobody trusted. And this is one of the big problems with trying to come up with a way to settle the special military operation in Ukraine, because they cannot rely upon who's going to enforce it. And think about this: they both have accused each other of this now, but Ukraine, this is kind of a new argument for them. You haven't heard it as often from them, but you hear it from Russia frequently, where Russia says that, twice now we have made deals and they pull the rug out from under us. We've done this, and we won't, because Ukraine, they keep going around the world and trying to get everyone to say, listen, we need to force Putin to do something. We need to make him take it. And they never include him in the discussion. And we need to make him do this. And that's not going to happen, by the way. And so there should be a reality that comes about. So Putin's not invited. Zelensky has this plan that he gets to put out, and then he gets to say what happens. Now, they feel like they were tricked way back when this war first started. In 2 months, Russia had taken over quite a bit of territory from Ukraine, more than they've taken over now, because they were up in Kiev. They were on those. They were well into Kherson and on the other side of the river. And when it looked like they were going to negotiate and come back, the troops were pulled back beyond the other side of the Dnieper. And once they did, Boris Johnson goes in and terminates the deal, says, no, we don't have to do this. And you don't need to do this. We're going to support you till the last Ukrainian is dead. And that's what happened. And so Russia's saying now, and they have said this, Putin specifically has said this on several, although Peskov has also said it, and Lavrov has also said it, Maria Zakharova has also said it, where they say that we cannot just start talking and freeze it in place, because as soon as we freeze in place, the Ukrainians are going to bring in all kinds of new Western technology, Western equipment, Western soldiers, refurbish their army, do another mobilization to bring in more people, and move out smartly and keep on going. And we've already been down this road. We don't trust you to do anything else. And you know what? I hate to say it, but in that respect, how can you blame them? How can you blame them for saying anything else? Because clearly that's what we have done. And the whole goal, even in Kursk, is to try to get an opportunity to reset, rebuild, get more. Winter's coming, and I realize it's a little early to be talking about winter, but we're 10 days into September. It's not all that far, and it's a lot colder on that side of the planet than over here. And it's going to be a cold winter. And now the big talk is, are we going to give the Ukrainians the ability to bombard infrastructure in Russia with U.S. weapons? Now, today, it was announced that Iran is providing some of their long-range weaponry and missiles to Russia at the exact same time. that there are going to be a bunch of those that are being shipped to Russia. Russia has plenty of their own, but on the long range sides, there's going to be, and the U.S. is all pissed off about it. So I see it as a method for them to claim that they can, to give Ukraine the ability to bomb deep inside of Russia. I don't like it. I think it's wrong, and I think it's an escalation. But there's so many moving parts in this discussion right now that need to go. There's an interesting. Where is he now? See if I can find it, because I can't find it. There's an interesting. JR closed out the window. An interesting person that speaks about this all the time, and she doesn't speak English, or she does, but her shows are all in Russian. And she's a Ukrainian, was born in Donbass, and her name is Panchenka, and she has, I don't know, a couple million, I think, followers, and she puts on a very good program, I believe, with there's an English subtitles that you can read it in, and she speaks about some of these things and what are going to occur. If you get a chance to check any of that out, you probably should. I today wanted to talk a little bit more about, had a couple more things that I wanted to discuss on this beautiful Tuesday, and finalize it today. Just do an hour, but I'm not sure. JR told me how to swap it over to music, and I believe that's going to be there. But he also told me someone else was going to be in as well. So I think I can drop in the music or get rid of mine, and the music will show up. Yeah, there it is, and I can move that into place. For now, I'm going to take a break and see if I can figure out how to put a music track in there real quick. Not sure how I can do it. And let's see, where is it? I'm still not an expert on doing it, and it's nicer with JR in there. I'm learning to do some training in this. I very much appreciate all the listeners. I believe I know how to get the music back going into place and set up a show, and I can drag it back across if I can figure out how to do it. And so I'm going to do that, and I may be back after the 5 o'clock hour, and I may not. But for right now, I'm going to try to verify that I've actually had it going on and have the music play as well. Let me try this and see what happens. Where is it? Song details. Well, sorry about that, JR. Let's see. Well, I don't think it happened. I think I just have to keep on talking until the end, until somebody shows up to rescue me, because I think I still have some training to do, and we're going to keep on going and see if we can get the music going. And but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. And I want to put the music in place and see if I can put some more music in there and drag it into place like he showed me, but it doesn't appear to be working the way I want it to. And so there it should be playing. I apologize, JR. Sorry to be a bonehead, but I'm still new at this, and we want to make sure that it's able to be played, and I hope I don't screw anything up by what I'm doing. And so there you have it. We're going to keep on talking about things that Sam wishes to talk about, and see if we can't proceed with this. But I'm going to come back in a few minutes and try to start it all over. Thank you very much, and you have a nice day.